An injured Apache beauty was found by a cowboy. She expected slavery, but he offered. The sun was high over the Arizona plains, beating down on the dry, dusty earth. The wind blew softly, stirring loose sand and bending the sparse grass. Birds flew low, and the distant hills cast long shadows as the day went on. Among the rugged land, a young Apache woman struggled to move. Her clothes were torn and stained with dirt and dried blood. Every step hurt her ankle, swollen and bruised from the fall she had taken while running from a group of men she did not know. She leaned on a broken branch for support, her eyes scanning the horizon constantly. Fear and caution filled her mind. She had been taught since she was a child to be wary of strangers, especially men from outside her people. Her name was Naeli, though she hardly remembered a time when life had been safe. Her village had been attacked when she was very young, and she had seen family members taken or killed. Since then, she had lived mostly alone, moving from place to place, surviving in the harsh land with the skills her mother had taught her. She knew how to find water, how to hide, and how to hunt just enough to keep herself alive. But the injuries she carried now were worse than anything she had faced before. She knew she could not go far like this, and she needed help. Yet, help from strangers often meant danger. In the distance, she noticed a figure moving slowly among the rocks. At first, she froze, thinking it could be one of the men who had attacked her. But as the figure came closer, she saw the wide-brimmed hat, the rough boots, and the way he carried himself. He was a cowboy, someone from the settlements she had always feared. Her heart raced. She ducked behind a boulder, watching him carefully. She expected him to capture her, to demand that she go with him, to treat her like property. Her fear was deep, rooted in years of danger and betrayal. The cowboy, whose name was Samuel, had been riding across the plains looking for lost cattle. His horse was tired, and he had slowed down near a small ravine to rest. That was when he noticed movement among the rocks. At first he thought it was a rabbit or some other animal, but then he saw the woman. She was badly hurt, leaning on a branch, pale and shaking. He stopped a few feet away, not wanting to frighten her, and spoke softly. "Hey there, are you all right?" he called gently. His voice was calm and careful without threat. Naeli's eyes widened. She did not answer. She knew that speaking could give him power over her. Instead, she tightened her grip on the branch, her body trembling. Samuel noticed the blood and the way she limped. He dismounted his horse slowly, keeping his hands visible to show he meant no harm. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. "You're hurt. You need help." Naeli wanted to run, but her injured ankle made it impossible. She glared at him with defiance and fear, preparing herself to fight if he tried to touch her. Years of surviving on her own had taught her that trust could be deadly. Samuel didn't approach immediately. He kneeled down a few feet away, taking his time. He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a clean cloth and some water. "Here," he said softly, placing the water near her. "Drink, it will help." Naeli stared at the water. She wanted to reject it, to push it away and run, but her throat was dry and her lips were cracked. Slowly, she inched forward and took a few sips, keeping her eyes on him. Samuel didn't speak. He only watched patiently, giving her space. The sun moved across the sky and the heat made the rocks shimmer. Naeli's fear began to soften ever so slightly. Samuel didn't make sudden movements. He only worked carefully to show he would not force her. After a few moments, he reached into his bag again and pulled out a small piece of cloth and a clean bundle. He knelt down, showing her what he had without touching her. "Let me help you with that ankle," he said. "I can wrap it so it stops hurting so much." Naeli hesitated. Part of her wanted to refuse, to stay hidden and suffer in silence. But another part, the part that had been alone for too long, wanted help. She nodded slightly, almost imperceptibly. Samuel smiled gently, understanding the silent permission. He worked slowly, using clean water to wash the wound, being careful not to cause pain. Naeli bit her lip to keep from crying out. She noticed the gentleness in his hands, the patience, and the lack of any attempt to control her. She felt a strange sense of relief, something she had not felt in years. "Better?" he asked quietly when he finished wrapping her ankle. Naeli nodded again, unable to speak. She didn't know what to call this feeling, trust, maybe, or relief. Samuel looked at her and said softly, "You don't have to go anywhere with me. You can stay right here, but if you want, I can help you get somewhere safe." Naeli's mind raced. She had always believed that anyone offering help would demand something in return. Slavery, captivity, or work she could not refuse. But something in Samuel's eyes, calm and steady, told her he might be different. She still feared him, but she was also curious. The cowboy reached into his bag one more time and pulled out some bread and dried meat. He set it down near her, leaving it on the ground without touching her. Naomi looked at the food. Hunger had gnawed at her for days. Slowly, she reached for it, keeping one eye on Samuel. He made no move to take it back. She ate carefully, savoring each bite, feeling the warmth of food in her belly for the first time in days. After a while, she felt strong enough to sit up properly. Samuel stayed nearby, never pressing her. He knew the value of patience, especially when dealing with someone who had suffered fear and loss. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting a golden glow over the plains, Naomi finally spoke softly in a whisper. "Why are you helping me?" Samuel paused. He wanted to answer honestly, but he also wanted her to feel safe. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "No one should be hurt and left alone like this." Naomi thought about it. In her life, she had seen very few people act like this. Most helped only for their own gain. The idea that someone could help simply because it was right was almost unbelievable. Still, she felt a spark of something she had not felt in years. Hope. Night began to fall and the temperature dropped. Samuel offered her his blanket, and she accepted, sitting close enough to feel warmth but not so close as to feel trapped. He kept a fire going, small but steady, giving them light and warmth. As they sat together, neither speaking much, Naomi realized that this man, this cowboy who she had first feared, might be the first person she could trust in a long time. She didn't know what the future would hold, but for now, she was safe. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe that safety could exist. The stars began to appear in the sky, sparkling over the plains like tiny fires. Naomi watched them silently, feeling a strange calm. Samuel tended the fire and his horse, never asking her to move or speak, simply existing alongside her in quiet companionship. By the end of the night, Naomi had drifted into a light sleep, leaning back against the rocks, her ankle now wrapped and her body somewhat rested. Samuel stayed awake, watching the fire, keeping guard. He understood the fragility of trust, especially for someone like her, and he would not betray it. For the first time in a long time, Naomi felt that maybe not all strangers wanted to harm her. Maybe there were still people in the world who could offer kindness without expecting anything in return. And as she slept, the firelight flickering across her face, she dreamed of something she had almost forgotten: freedom, safety, and a chance to live again. The morning sun rose slowly over the wide Arizona plains, painting the land in golden light. The air was still cool, carrying the smell of dry earth and sagebrush. Naomi stirred awake, stretching carefully, feeling the soreness in her ankle but relieved that it was wrapped and stable. She looked at the cowboy, Samuel, who was tending the small fire they had kept alive overnight. His hands moved easily, skillfully, as he arranged small sticks and coals. He noticed her eyes on him and offered a soft nod. "Morning," he said, his voice calm. "Did you sleep well?" Naomi nodded. She wanted to speak more to thank him, but words felt heavy on her lips. Instead, she picked up a small cup of water and drank slowly, letting it soothe her throat. Samuel did not rush her or demand answers. He only waited patiently, giving her space. This patience was something she had rarely seen in anyone. Once she felt steady, Samuel offered her a piece of bread. "Eat something," he said. "It will give you strength for the journey." Naomi took it carefully, eyes still scanning the land as if danger could appear from anywhere. But she noticed that Samuel did not carry a weapon in a threatening way. His hands were open and his posture was relaxed, not aggressive. Slowly, the bread felt safe in her hand. She ate quietly, savoring the warmth of food in her stomach. The plains stretched endlessly before them, dotted with rocky hills, small streams, and patches of grass. Samuel told her he would help her get to a place where she could rest safely. Naomi did not ask where exactly they would go. She simply nodded, trusting her body to follow her instincts. She had no choice but to accept help, and something inside her said that this man was different. They began to walk slowly. Samuel helped her with every step, making sure she did not put too much weight on her ankle. They moved carefully along a narrow trail, avoiding loose rocks and hidden dips. Naomi noticed how familiar he seemed with the land. He pointed out edible plants and small streams where they could drink. For the first time, she realized that someone could be both kind and skilled, using knowledge to help rather than harm. Hours passed, and the sun climbed higher. Naomi's muscles ached and her ankle throbbed, but Samuel never rushed her. When they reached a shaded spot near a small creek, he paused. He removed a small cloth from his bag and offered it to her. "You can rest," he said. "The water here is clean. Drink as much as you need." Nayeli knelt by the creek and drank, the cold water soothing her parched throat. She felt the first real sense of relief in days, maybe even weeks. Samuel sat nearby, keeping watch, his eyes scanning the plains for any sign of danger. She noticed how careful he was, not just for himself, but for her as well. After a short rest, they continued. As they walked, Samuel began to speak softly about life on the plains, sharing small stories from his past. He told her about times he had gotten lost, how he survived the winter cold, and how he learned to read the land. He did not ask about her past or force her to answer. Instead, he spoke in a way that made her feel safe, showing that conversation could be gentle rather than demanding. Slowly, Nayeli began to speak. At first, it was only small words, fragments of sentences. "I alone," she said, her voice low. "My village gone." Samuel listened quietly, nodding. "I understand," he said gently. "You've been through much, but right now you're safe." The words felt strange but comforting. Nayeli had rarely heard someone acknowledge her pain without judgment or expectation. She began to tell him more hesitantly, about her family, about the times she had run from danger, about the loneliness that had followed her since she was a child. Samuel listened, never interrupting, never forcing her to speak faster. His silence and attention were more comforting than any words he could have said. The journey was not easy. They faced rough terrain, sharp rocks that cut at their boots, sudden dips that could twist an ankle, and thorny bushes that scraped at their arms. At one point, a rattlesnake appeared near their path. Samuel's eyes widened, and he signaled for Nayeli to stay still. Slowly, he stepped aside and guided her safely around the snake without panicking. Nayeli's heart pounded, but she noticed that Samuel never showed fear in a way that scared her. Instead, he showed control, calm, and care. By the afternoon, they reached a small canyon where the wind blew cool air from the rocks. Samuel suggested they rest again. He took off his coat and offered it to her for warmth, though she hesitated. Finally, she accepted, draping it around her shoulders. The fabric smelled faintly of him, not unpleasant but strange to her. She realized she was starting to feel safer near him. As they rested, Nayeli noticed the small details about him, the careful way he tied his horse, the way he kept his knife sheathed, the gentle manner in which he adjusted the blanket for her ankle. Every action seemed to show that he respected her space and her body. Nayeli's fear began to soften, though she still kept her guard up. Night approached, and the sky turned soft shades of orange and pink. Samuel built a small fire near a cluster of rocks, keeping it low but bright enough to keep them warm. He brought out more food, breaking it into small pieces and offering some to her. Nayeli ate slowly, appreciating the taste and warmth. She noticed that he did not eat first or demand that she eat after him. He waited for her, letting her choose. "Do you trust me?" Samuel asked quietly as the stars began to appear. Nayeli hesitated. The word trust was heavy. She had never trusted anyone completely. But the truth was she did not feel immediate danger from him. She gave a small nod, uncertain but sincere. "That's all I ask," Samuel said softly. "No one should ever be forced to trust, only when it feels right." The night was calm. Coyotes howled in the distance, but the fire kept them feeling safe. Nayeli leaned against a rock, wrapping the coat around herself and watching the flickering flames. For the first time in a long while, she felt that someone could care without wanting something in return. She felt a strange comfort in his presence, even though her mind was still wary. The next day, they continued their journey. Samuel helped her over small streams and rocky paths. They shared small meals and water, and Nayeli began to notice the beauty of the land, the wide plains, the gentle hills, and the quiet streams. For the first time in a long time, she could breathe without fear dominating every thought. Along the way, they encountered challenges. A sudden storm brought heavy wind and rain. Samuel guided her to a small cave where they could shelter. Inside, he shared his blanket and encouraged her to stay dry. Nayeli watched the rain beating against the rocks, realizing that she did not have to face it alone. Someone had chosen to be there with her. Over time, Nayeli began to speak more openly. She told him about her favorite plants, about small lessons she had learned from her mother, and about the few friends she had once had. Samuel listened, sometimes asking gentle questions, always careful not to push. Nayeli began to feel a connection, a bridge between her world and his. By the third day, they had traveled many miles. Nayeli's ankle was stronger, though still tender. She realized that the journey was not just about moving from one place to another. It was also about learning to trust again. Samuel had shown her that not all strangers wanted to hurt her. Some could offer kindness simply because it was the right thing to do. One evening, as they camped near a quiet stream, Nayeli finally spoke fully. "I thank you," she said softly. "You good." Samuel smiled, a gentle warmth in his eyes. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "I'm glad you're safe, that's enough for me." For the first time, Nayeli felt a small weight lift from her chest. She was not alone. She was not powerless. She had found someone who cared enough to help without asking for anything in return. And as the stars reflected in the quiet water of the stream, she felt a hope she had not felt in years. The plains stretched endlessly around them, wide and open. They would face more challenges, Nayeli knew that, but for now she could rest. She could trust even a little, and that was enough. She realized that the journey was not just about reaching a safe place. It was also about discovering that she could survive with help, that she could open her heart cautiously, and that kindness could exist even in a harsh world. And so, under the wide sky filled with stars, the cowboy and the Apache woman continued their journey, step by step, slowly building trust, sharing quiet moments of safety, and learning that even in the harshest land, human kindness could shine like a small, steady fire. The town lay in the distance, a small cluster of wooden buildings and dusty streets. Smoke rose from chimneys, and the sounds of life carried across the plains, horses' hooves clattering, children laughing, and the occasional shout of a merchant selling goods. Samuel led Nayeli carefully down the last slope, her wrapped ankle steady but still tender. She felt a mixture of relief and fear. She had survived the wilderness, but this town, she did not know what awaited her here. As they entered the townspeople stopped what they were doing and stared. The Apache woman, dressed in tattered clothing and with dirt-streaked skin, looked foreign and out of place. Nayeli felt every gaze on her and instinctively pulled back, keeping close to Samuel. Her heart pounded. Years of hiding and surviving in the wild had taught her that being different often brought danger. Samuel noticed the stares and kept a protective presence near her. "Ignore them," he whispered. "You're safe with me." But Nayeli could feel the tension in the air. Some of the men whispered among themselves. "Who is she?" one asked. "Where did she come from?" Another frowned, stepping closer. "She's probably a runaway or worse," Nayeli's pulse quickened. She had faced strangers before, but this was different. This town felt like a trap, a place where she could be taken at any moment. Her hand instinctively moved to the small knife she carried at her belt. Samuel noticed and gently placed a hand near hers, not touching, just showing solidarity. "We're just passing through," he said firmly, his voice carrying authority. "She is not a threat, and she is not to be harmed." Some men looked skeptical, but Samuel's calm and firm tone made them hesitate. Nayeli could sense his strength, the quiet power of a man who knew the law of the plains but also cared for the vulnerable. Still, she did not relax. Fear was part of her survival. Samuel led her to a small inn on the edge of town. He spoke briefly to the innkeeper, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, and explained that Nayeli needed a place to rest. The innkeeper nodded, understanding, and offered them a room. For the first time in days, Nayeli felt a glimmer of safety. The room was simple, with a wooden bed, a small table, and a clean blanket. Nayeli sank onto the bed, exhausted from the journey. Samuel placed some water and bread nearby, but he did not insist she eat. She appreciated his patience. Later that afternoon, Nayeli ventured to the window, watching the townspeople go about their business. She noticed their curious looks and whispers. Some children pointed, their faces filled with curiosity rather than malice. Nayeli felt a pang of sadness. She had survived so much, but she could see that life in this town would not be easy. People judged quickly and trust was rare. Samuel returned to check on her. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Wary," Nayeli admitted softly. "They look at me like I am danger." "They don't know you," Samuel said gently. "It will take time, just be yourself, let your actions speak." The next few days were challenging. Nayeli stayed mostly inside the inn, observing from the window, learning the rhythm of the town. Some townspeople were kind, offering small gestures, a nod, a quiet greeting. Others were suspicious, muttering about strangers and outsiders. Nayeli noticed how Samuel treated everyone with respect, even those who doubted them. He never argued unless necessary, and he never allowed anyone to threaten her. One day, as they walked through the town to buy supplies, a group of men confronted them. "What are you doing with her?" one demanded, glaring at Samuel. "She doesn't belong here." "She should be elsewhere." Samuel stood tall, his voice steady. "She belongs where she chooses to be. I will not allow anyone to harm her or force her into anything she does not want." The men exchanged uneasy glances. Samuel's confidence and quiet authority seemed to make them hesitate. Naomi felt a mixture of pride and fear. She realized that Samuel was not just protecting her physically. He was standing up for her right to exist freely. That evening, Naomi sat outside the inn, listening to the sounds of the town. She realized she had never lived among so many people. Life in the wilderness had been harsh but predictable. Here, she faced new challenges, prejudice, curiosity, and rules she did not understand. But she also felt something new, possibility. She could start learning, growing, and finding a place where she belonged. One afternoon, a child ran past the inn, tripping over a rock and falling hard. Naomi reacted immediately, rushing to help. Samuel followed close behind, but Naomi's instincts had trained her well. She checked the child for injuries and comforted him until the parents arrived. The townspeople who had witnessed this began to see her differently. She was not just an outsider, they could see her courage, her care, and her skill. Slowly, small changes occurred. Some merchants greeted her with a nod. A few townsfolk stopped whispering. Naomi began to understand that trust could work both ways. Not only could she trust Samuel, but others could begin to trust her as well. She started helping Samuel around small chores, carrying supplies, tidying the inn, and learning simple tasks that made her feel useful and capable. Despite this progress, Naomi still struggled with fear. Nighttime brought memories of past danger. She would wake up, heart racing, imagining threats in the shadows. Samuel noticed her anxiety and never judged her. He would quietly sit nearby, offering a steady presence. "You're safe here," he would whisper. "No one will harm you while I am with you." Over time, Naomi began to speak more openly. She told Samuel about her life before the attacks on her village, about small joys she had known as a child, and about the lessons her mother had taught her about plants, animals, and survival. Samuel listened, sometimes asking gentle questions, always careful not to push. Naomi realized she was learning a new kind of trust, one built on patience, respect, and safety. The town itself began to change for her as well. She noticed the kindness in small gestures, a baker offering extra bread, a farmer showing her how to tend a small garden, children who were curious but not cruel. Naomi began to understand that the world was not entirely cruel. Some people could be gentle, helpful, and compassionate, and when Samuel was near, she felt that safety more strongly than ever. One day, while walking near the market, a group of men approached again, suspicious and whispering. Naomi felt her old fear return, her hands tightening around the cloth of her coat. But Samuel stayed calm, his presence steady. "Do not be afraid," he said softly. "We will face this together." Instead of conflict, Samuel spoke politely to the men, explaining that Naomi was free to stay and that she was under his protection. He did not raise his voice or threaten. The men eventually backed off, though some still whispered as they walked away. Naomi realized that courage could be quiet and patient, and that strength did not always mean fighting. By the end of the week, Naomi had begun to carve out a small space for herself in the town. She helped with chores, learned the paths of the streets, and even began to smile at the children who waved to her. Samuel continued to guide her, encouraging independence while ensuring her safety. Naomi felt a growing sense of belonging, a feeling she had not known since before the attacks on her village. One evening, as the sun set and painted the town in shades of orange and pink, Naomi and Samuel sat together outside the inn. She looked at him and finally spoke fully without fear. "I thank you," she said softly, "for everything." Samuel smiled, his eyes kind and steady. "You don't have to thank me," he replied. "I'm glad you're here, you're safe, and that is enough for me." For the first time in a long while, Naomi felt that she could breathe without constant fear. She had survived the wilderness, learned to trust Samuel, and now faced the world with a new kind of courage. She realized that life in the town would have challenges, but she could face them. She was not alone. The stars appeared above the town, bright against the darkening sky. Naomi watched them, feeling hope rising in her chest. She had come so far, from hiding alone in the wild to sitting safely with someone who cared. She knew there would be more tests ahead, more whispers and prejudice to face, but she also knew she had the strength and support to meet them. And as the night settled over the small frontier town, Nayeli understood something important. Freedom was more than surviving the wilderness. It was having the choice to live without fear, to be respected, and to find a place where her voice mattered. With Samuel by her side, she began to believe that this new life was possible, and that she could face the challenges ahead with courage and hope. The days grew longer, and the town slowly became familiar to Nayeli. Each morning, she woke to the soft light of the sun creeping through the small window of the inn room she shared with Samuel. Her ankle was nearly healed, and her body felt stronger. She had begun to move with confidence, no longer afraid that every step would bring her to danger. Samuel continued to guide her, showing her how to walk through the streets, how to carry water safely from the well, and how to interact with the townspeople. The people of the town had grown accustomed to seeing her. Some smiled at her, a few children waved, and the innkeeper had even offered to let her help in the kitchen. Nayeli had started to accept these gestures with cautious gratitude. She had learned that kindness existed in the world, not just in the wilderness she had fled. Slowly, she began to see that life could be more than survival. Samuel had taken a small piece of land near the edge of the town, where the plains met the rocky hills. It was not much, just a modest cabin with a small garden, but it was enough. He invited Nayeli to live there with him if she wished, assuring her that she had the choice. Nayeli paused, considering. Freedom had always been an abstract word for her, something that existed only in dreams. Now someone was offering it to her, not as a gift to repay a debt, but as a true choice. One morning they walked together to the cabin. The air was fresh, and the scent of sage and wildflowers filled the plains. Nayeli looked around at the small cabin, the garden, and the surrounding land. For the first time, she felt a sense of ownership, not imposed by force, but chosen freely. Samuel helped her carry small baskets of supplies, showing her how to plant seeds and tend the soil. She worked alongside him, learning new skills while also teaching him small lessons about the land. The plants that could be used for medicine, the herbs that tasted sweet, and the paths where animals would come at night. The work was hard, but it was honest. Nayeli felt a satisfaction she had never known before. Each day, she grew stronger, not just in body, but in spirit. She began to understand that life could be shaped by her own hands, and that freedom was not only about escaping danger, but about having the power to choose how to live. One afternoon, a group of children from the town approached the cabin. They had heard about Nayeli from the innkeeper and were curious. At first, Nayeli felt nervous, remembering the fear she had always carried around strangers, but Samuel smiled gently, encouraging her to greet them. "Hello," Nayeli said softly. The children stared for a moment, then smiled. They asked questions about the plants, the animals, and life in the plains. Nayeli answered carefully, finding joy in sharing her knowledge. For the first time in years, she laughed freely, the sound carrying across the garden. Samuel watched quietly, pleased to see her open up. As weeks passed, Nayeli and Samuel developed a quiet routine. They worked in the garden, tended to the cabin, and shared meals together. Sometimes they would sit by the edge of the land and watch the sun set over the plains. The colors of orange, pink, and gold spread across the sky, reflecting in the small stream that ran nearby. Nayeli would often sit in silence, feeling the warmth of the sun and the safety of the land. She realized that this simple life, free from fear and full of honest work, was a kind of happiness she had never thought possible. One evening, as they prepared dinner, a traveler came to the cabin. He was a young man who had heard about Nayeli and Samuel from the town. He approached cautiously, unsure of how he would be received. Nayeli stepped forward, feeling a sense of calm. She greeted him politely, sharing a small meal with him. Samuel stood back, letting her take the lead. Nayeli realized that she could now face the world without fear, that her voice had value, and that she could choose how to interact with others. The traveler stayed for a few days, helping with chores and learning from Nayeli about the plants and animals in the area. The experience reinforced her confidence. She had once been alone, hunted, and afraid. Now she was part of a small community, respected and valued. She had learned that freedom was more than the absence of danger. It was the ability to live with dignity, make choices, and build relationships based on trust and respect. Samuel and Nayeli often spoke quietly at night by the fire. He asked her about her dreams, about the things she had always wanted to do but never could. Nayeli shared small hopes, visiting the hills, seeing the wide river, learning more about the plants and animals around her. Samuel listened, encouraging her to pursue these dreams. She felt supported, not commanded, and the feeling was new and deeply comforting. As the seasons changed, the land around them grew lush with the care they had given it. The garden flourished, small animals returned to the area, and the cabin felt alive with warmth and safety. Nayeli found joy in simple things, watching the sunrise, tending the plants, preparing meals, and caring for the animals nearby. Each day was a lesson in freedom, patience, and the beauty of life lived with choice. One morning, Nayeli went to the edge of the land, looking out across the plains. She remembered the long journey, the fear, the wounds, and the days spent hiding. She thought about the harshness of the wilderness and the dangers she had faced. Then she looked at the cabin behind her, at Samuel working in the garden, and at the small life they had built together. She realized how far she had come, and for the first time she felt truly free. Samuel joined her, handing her a cup of water. They stood together, silent for a moment, watching the wind move across the tall grass. Nayeli felt a sense of peace she had never known. She understood that freedom was not just about being safe. It was about having the power to choose, the right to live without fear, and the ability to build a life that was her own. Over time, Nayeli began to share her knowledge with the townspeople. She taught them about the plants, the herbs, and the small ways to live in harmony with the land. Some townspeople were hesitant at first, but they soon saw the value in her wisdom. Children listened with fascination, learning things they had never known. Nayeli felt proud not just for herself, but for the chance to contribute to something larger. Evenings were their favorite time. Samuel and Nayeli would sit by the fire, speaking softly about the day, about dreams, and about the small joys they had found. Sometimes they would remain in silence, simply enjoying the warmth of the fire and the quiet of the plains. Nayeli realized that safety, trust, and companionship were gifts she had never thought possible, and she cherished them deeply. One afternoon, a storm rolled in, dark clouds filling the sky. Nayeli remembered the storms she had faced in the wilderness, the fear and helplessness she had felt. But now she was calm. She worked with Samuel to secure the cabin, gather firewood, and protect the animals. They faced the storm together, not as strangers, but as partners. Nayeli realized that true freedom included facing challenges with someone you could trust, someone who would not abandon you. As the storm passed, the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the land in sparkling light. Nayeli stepped outside, feeling the rain on her face and the warmth of the sun drying her clothes. She laughed softly, a sound of pure joy and relief. Samuel watched her, smiling quietly. He had seen her grow from a fearful, injured girl into a strong, confident woman capable of facing the world. The months passed, and the land around the cabin continued to flourish. Nayeli felt a connection to it that went beyond survival. She had built a life, learned new skills, shared knowledge, and found a sense of purpose. More than anything, she had found freedom, not just from fear, but freedom to be herself, to make choices, and to live fully. One evening, Samuel and Nayeli sat on a small hill overlooking their land. The sky was filled with stars, reflecting in the small stream nearby. Nayeli turned to Samuel, her eyes shining with gratitude and hope. "I never thought life could be like this," she said softly. "I thought I would always be running, always afraid." Samuel placed a hand gently on hers. "You are safe now," he said, "and you can choose how to live. That is the true freedom." Nayeli smiled, feeling the truth of his words. She had survived the wilderness, learned to trust again, faced the town, and found a place where she belonged. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had led her to this moment, peaceful, safe, and full of hope. As the night grew quiet, Nayeli and Samuel returned to the cabin. They worked together to prepare a small meal, then sat by the fire, talking softly and laughing at small stories. Nayeli felt a warmth in her heart that had nothing to do with the fire. It was the warmth of belonging, of trust, and of freedom. For the first time in her life, she realized that she could live fully, without fear, without hiding, and without being alone. The plains stretched endlessly before her, wide and open, full of possibility. And she knew that with Samuel by her side, she could face whatever came next with courage and hope. The story of Nayeli, the Apache woman who had once feared the world, had reached a new beginning. She was free, safe, and valued. She had survived, learned, and grown. And as the stars shone brightly above the plains, Naomi understood that life could be kind, even after suffering, and that hope and freedom were worth every step of the journey.